Welcome back to Billy Ho Sports. We're back for another week. This is PGA time. Big tournament coming up next weekend. It's the event of the year so far, the Players Championship, TPC Sawgrass. It's back and better than ever. We are going with the so-called fifth major, but it is putting out the dough, more dough than most of the other majors. So $25 million up for grabs total. 4.5 goes to the first place winner. Event is absolutely crucial to one and done success. So we're going to look at who might be the best game theory type options or just where you're at plugging in the chalk. The field is downsized this year, FYI, to 120 from the regular like 144 field or whatever it is. And it should promote smoother flow of play because Sawgrass can get backed up with so many balls going in the water. And then you have the iconic island hole. So all that kind of stuff, you need less players. So good idea by them. And just a quick plug for the horse racing content. Kentucky Derby's coming up. I got all your coverage here, putting out videos left and right. Tampa Bay Derby is this weekend. Virginia Derby next weekend. More state derbies, Louisiana, Florida. Santa Anita Park has a derby. All kinds of great horse racing coming up. So get it all here. Subscribe to the channel. Smash that like. Let's look at TPC Sawgrass. TPC Sawgrass, renowned for the iconic 17th hole, like I mentioned. Much more nuanced than that. Pete Dye designed, deceptively honest is what I like to call it. It means it rewards good play, good ball striking, but punishes bad decisions. Scotty Scheffler made it look pretty easy last year. He won by 5 shots. So looking at the golf course, Sawgrass is par 72. Little on the short side, 7,256 yards, overseeded ryegrass fairways. Same type of grass in the rough. Rough would be grown up to 4 inches. I think they're going to let it grow out to make driving accuracy more crucial. So greens are a little on the small side, 5,500 square feet. Then overseeded Bermuda, like similar to, I think, TPC Scottsdale Waste Management, that kind of but it should be fast and firm, which that is Waste Management. This time of the year, the POA is a little more prevalent, so I think it'll be a lot more like those overseeded out west. It's not going to be like your West Coast POA, though, so just keep that in mind. Real quick on the weather. It's Jacksonville, it's TPC Sawgrass, it's Florida, it's pre-spring. So there's going to be rain in the forecast. The weather looks pretty mild temperature-wise. I've been to Jacksonville a few times, and it's northern Florida, and this time of year, it's not always 85, but I think it's going to be pretty nice. So the problem is there is a chance of showers in the forecast next week, but it could help scoring by softening the course. But there is wind, so it could turn it into a real shit show. So we'll just have to see. Now, Pete Dye equals ball striking, equals approach play, equals strategery. But strategic off the tee, it means you can be left or right. You might be better off in the left rough than you are right fairway, depending on the angle to the green. I believe they added more moguls and stuff in there. Pete Dye likes to do like linksy style stuff with the moguls and uneven fairways and stuff. So players that are good on those types of courses are always good. And so let's jump over to Fantasy National and take a look at the breakdown and other stats. So the breakdown goes something like this. It starts off pretty benign as far as like the first few holes are concerned. Mid-level holes are really easy par 5 with a chance to get off to a good start. Then you have a couple of tough holes. Front 9 is a little bit easier than the back, in my opinion. The back 9 a lot more pressure packed, obviously. So you make the turn at 9 with the big long 602. That's a little bit less on the birdie scale, but you have some sub 400. That's the most important. You have to take advantage of the par 5s, which you will have 4. And there's your last one. 16 is a must because that leads you into obviously the 17th Island Green, and then the 18th is a bare, kind of similar to API. The 18th is the toughest hole on the golf course. I like courses that do that. Why do we want a course that's going to end on an easy ass par 5? I mean, I guess that's okay because you have the possibility for eagle birdie. But you've seen how many playoffs end on the 18th par five, and the dudes have to play the thing 4 times before somebody screws it up. So I like a tough 18th hole like that. And the rest of the holes, I believe one of these is going to be this number 12 here is going to be probably similar to a drivable. I believe they tone it down to right around 300. It depends on where they put the tee boxes, FYI. So these are top 5 finishers. You can see how ball striking off the tee is nil, but I think the accuracy will be a little more important this year as the rough grows out. Then, of course, obviously, it's going to be a lot more wedges from 75 to 100 because down here you have club down atmosphere. That's why you have the distance is so far down. So that's what we're looking at here. Putting, yeah, it's about average. I never really know how to read that anyway. But the accuracy, you can see it's about turd level. Now you have a little bit more than 100. The 125 to 150 seems to be the most. Then it dips a little bit. And then, of course, you have the right at 200 plus. It's actually just a skosh less there. So tournament history. So I got it set on 2024 with Scotty leading the way there, obviously. But looking at the field of 120, it is loaded with talent. 6 of 6 is I'm guessing it's going to be slightly an uptick with less players. So you got 65 in ties, then you only have 120 total players. So more people make the cut than miss it. Now I did run an early model. I wanted to get Pete Dye specialist mixture. I got players with strong history on die layouts like Harbortown, Sawgrass, the stadium course, which we've seen this year, Sedgefield coming up. Tracks like Pebble and East Lake and Scottsdale obviously are interesting to me too because they rely a lot on your ball striking ability. Pebble's a short track. It's a lengthy style course where you have to have strategy. So this is a for one and done strategy. Let's go take a look at the first model here, and then we'll get after it. Now this one is the multiple course model. You can see Scotty ranks out number 1 here. They do have the odds out. They don't have any contests, so I got it sorted by odds. But that's going to give you an idea of what we're looking at as far as pricing goes. You'll see 12.5 here, then 11.8, and then things of that nature. Xander might get a downtick in price, although he's not a downtick in odds. So I don't really know. He's struggling to make the cut this week because he's coming off a ton of rust. You can't lay off that long with an injury like he had, where you can't swing the clubs and you're a little awkward and you're not really sure 100% confidence wise in your full swing, all that kind of good stuff. But I've already started some guys that I'm digging on. One and done, like I said, I played Scotty at API and he's going to screw me over. I thought I was really excited when he came in today, Friday morning. I know it's just Friday, but he came in and birdied number 1 to get to -2, and then it was like 2 holes later he makes a terrible swing on a par 3. Then he chips it up to 3 feet, and then he lifts out a 3-footer for a double bogey, and that's just something he doesn't do. I know he struggles with the putter, but those short putts he usually gets over and has more confidence in that. It was so stupid, but I know it does happen at API, so I digress. Ludwig, obviously, Rory, Morikawa. Morikawa is a great driver of the ball. You can see he ranks 7th in the model, but he's second in good drives. He's got a lot of good multiple course histories. Now, this one here, my next model down here a little ways, is just a regular last 2 months recent form model, and it is my edit model. I'll show you. Tee to green, 10, fairways gained, 14, big approach for 20. Then you got par 5s, greens gained, birdie or better, short game, which combines around the green and putting, then DK points. And that's just kind of how I have it for now. I'll tweak it here and there. And I always set it for the last couple of months because I want 2025 stats. And we're barely into 2025. So 2 months is about right. I know it's not a lot of rounds. I could probably add 3 and get a few more out of it, but I'd rather have recent form for now for this video. And you can see how Scotty's off to a little bit of a slow start, but he's still 13th in the model. And really the par 5s are he's just been struggling because he was spraying the ball around, and the driving's been a little off. His whole game's just a little off. He hit a poor iron shot on that par 3. And I think I did make a mistake by playing him so soon. I should have allowed him, but that's what I did last year. I allowed him too many tournaments to go by. He won API, then he won Players, and then I couldn't pull the trigger on him in the Masters. So I waited for the PGA Championship, which oddly enough was at my home course of Valhalla here in Louisville, and he gets locked up on Friday night, Friday morning, and ruins his whole weekend, and he finishes like eighth or some shit. So we got Scotty on lockdown. I tweeted that today too. I got him on lockdown. It's a 24-hour lockdown shoot program, fool. So Shane Lowry, obviously getting it done. I had a note on Shane Lowry that I didn't even have to delete. I had this from the 2024 notes. Shane Lowry is trending towards a win on tour. Uh, Big boy loves Florida. And I just kind of shortened that, which we obviously know how good he's been in Florida. But, he's I believe, currently in the lead because Wyndham hit one out of bounds earlier. So I imagine he made at least double on the hole that he was playing. He was hitting his fourth from the fairway. So if he knocked it on and made the putt, he made bogey. So if he knocked it on and two putted, then it's double. Or could be worse. I don't know. I don't remember what the shot did. But anyway, you can see Shane Lowry, who's just been just can stripe it with the irons. He struggled at Genesis, which often people do, but second at AT&T. So but Eric's cognizant. He's going to play well here this week. He's obviously good when you load him up and you load in players. He's got some good finishes there. So he's kind of a guy you could consider. I thought about Victor Hovland for a hot second, but he's still not there yet. So Victor Hovland, Wyndham Clark, we just mentioned him. I know he just made a poor out of bounds shot and then probably cost him a double, but he's a guy that last year finished second to Scotty in both tournaments, API and Players. So moving down the line, you can see the tee to green. I'm a big tee to green guy when on these types of tournaments because those are just obviously the most solid sticky stats you can get as far as like playing. Siwoo Kim rounding into form, playing well this week, and he obviously former winner, but he loves Pete Dye. Pete Dye specialists obviously are in the mix. Corey Connors, even though his Pete Dye record is not great, he's still a guy that's just such a great ball striker. He's in contention this week, playing his best. Gentry is that kind of guy too. He's a guy that I would be in. There's an Alex Noren sighting. I heard he had an injury. I got no idea what to think of that guy. I feel like Keegan's a good guy. Harmon's definitely a Pete Dye specialist, even though his game's not been there. Then you go down the line a little bit more. Tagala you cannot trust, but Seabez, as I affectionately call him, because I don't feel like saying his last name, playing very well this week. And obviously, he can take advantage of not being as long off the tee, but he's decently accurate. He's 47th in fairways gained. So number one in short game, and actually I just forgot which. This is recent form, yeah. So number one in short game, that's very important. Down the line a little further, Aaron Rye has been getting it done with greens gain. You want a lot of greens, a lot of opportunities, and less mistakes. So I'll probably run a few more models that might tell me like bogey avoidance, three putt avoidance, scrambling, more of those defensive stats. But JJ Spawn, you can see the mixed condition model is the same from last week, so I'm not going to trust it fully, but it's still pretty accurate. It's like approaching the wind, different things like that. So we'll be looking closely there. And actually, what I can do, since we're right on the subject, is we can go over here and look at it. There's ops gained last 50, but that's last 2 months. So that's opportunities gained last 2 months. That's moderate to windy, last 24 approach, last 50 par 5. The rolling putting model from API, which should be applicable, I would say. And then you got putting last 2 months and fairways gained last 6 months. So that definitely rings true here. So that gives me a lot more confidence. That tells me this is that I'm on the right track with modeling. So if you go back down here, you got guys like Sepp, who's looking to bounce back. I didn't think he was any good for API. It's not quite his game. but you can see how good he's been. Pendrith is another guy you could probably look at. I just don't trust Min Woo. He's just so erratic with his driver. I wouldn't play him. Although he might have actually the year it was really nasty a few years ago, he might have had a good finish. I don't think his record's awful at at this golf course. So, you know, we can just always look it up for you. All right. Doesn't take a second. Playa. So he did have the sixth, and I think that may have been he lost. That's a lot. This might have been that shit show year where it was really rainy and there was an awful the Friday wave completely got screwed. They had a delay. It was cold. It was windy. You can see he gained 7 strokes putting and 4 off the tee. And that's kind of how he does it. Really, he's but he's erratic. But his approach game's terrible. He's just not a fit for this golf course. So I'm not gonna. I probably won't go there. Bhatia might be in for this. He was I mistakenly used him at API. He got 8 up day one, going out in a bad wave, and shot 7 over. So he's out of it. I don't think he's coming back. Then there's guys like Clanton who can play. I don't really know what to think of the younger guys, but like your Stevens, like the guys that have been winning, like Highsmith and Gracerman's been awesome lately. Gracerman has been really good lately. Jake Knapp's been really good. He almost won. You know, these guys are kind of like bigger hitters off the tee. So I don't know if they're more the mental capacity. They've been tearing up the easier tournaments. So it's kind of tough. Novak, some of these guys, Andrew Putnam wouldn't be terrible here. You can see his recent form, fairways gained, greens gained, strokes gained approach. That's interesting. He's a guy that I know he can putt, but sometimes he just his approach game is just terrible. He's not all that with the ball striking, but if he can get into some good form, which he has a horrifying record here, obviously. So who knows? You're terrible here till you're not. So anyway, there's one more guy I wanted to mention for we'll stop it there. One more guy I wanted to mention was Hideki. He actually, the year of COVID, came out and fired like a 64 and had the first round lead. And I was all over him in that tournament. I was so pissed when they canceled it. And that was right at 2020 at the beginning of the COVID breakout. So that canceled the tournament. He's already won this season, which he had that year last year coming into this tournament. His issues have been driving the golf ball for the most part, but with the option to club down on a lot of these, I think he can use those magical irons and maybe have a big run this week. So he'd be an option. Morikawa's an option. Wyndham Clark's an option. Those are the guys, like I said. I mentioned Rye, Bez, Henley has been off the hook lights out lately. So I'm going to try to keep it to the guys who are just really in good form, really good records here, really solid long-term golfers. Hopefully that'll get me closer to the mix, just because with volatility, I like to get a little safer for the most part, but I will have some outliers. You gotta take some shots. I mean, lately my ownership has been fine. That ain't been the problem. I just haven't been able to cobble together the right 6 guys. I made 11 out of 12, I think, in the cut, but I had so much of Novak last week. All my lineups were 5 of 6. So I didn't have any 6 of 6s because I had 2 guys miss the cut. I had Adam Shank, which I only had in like 1 or 2 lineups, but I had your boy Novak in the rest of them. So, or Norlander, my apologies. It wasn't Novak, it was Norlander. And he missed the cut on the number -4. And we sat there and watched it go to -5 at the tail end of Friday. So that kind of sucks. But anyway, plenty of research to do. It's just Friday. Need to get you out here and get you started. Big doings in horse racing, so don't forget about that. Appreciate you kicking it off with me. Best of luck, and we'll see you soon.